this is Kenneth Wong, Senior Editor for DE 24/7. Welcome to another episode of DE Podcast. Bob Meyer was for a long time CEO and President of IMSI Design, a company he helped found it. He has just retired, but he agrees to sit down and chat with us and offer his reflections on the CAD industry. So let's hear from him. So first of all, Bob, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you, Kenneth. It's been almost 4 decades, and it's been fun and exciting and interesting. But I think it's time to take advantage of other things now.
What I want to ask you, Bob, is that throughout your time in the industry, are there any kind of remarkable, noteworthy milestone moments that you remember? Is there some cases in which the industry make a leap, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it goes all the way back to the mid-1980s when we first got involved in desktop CAD. And I think, one of the things, from back then was when Martin Newell had come out with Ashlar Vellum and intelligent snapping, from a user interface perspective and just the ease of design. That was sort of a real groundbreaking achievement in CAD, at least, for where we were in those starting days of CAD for the PC as opposed to mainframes and dedicated CAD workstations. CAD for the masses is where we sort of jumped on the bandwagon in the same way that generic CAD had done a year or so before us. We saw that as the real innovation that was coming from them, and we wanted to be a part of that. And so our perspective there was, start from the bottom up as opposed to the top down in terms of the addressable user base. And then, over time, there's been so many things, bringing down, again, to the desktop level, these different solid modeling engines, first with Pro Engineer and then the ASUS and Parasolids kernels, which, but in the early days when it became available, we wanted to be able to add, solid modeling to TurboCAD, and we were able to do that with spatial technologies. So bringing those heretofore, mainframe-related technologies to the PC was really another innovation that, was achieved through a number of companies, not through any one. And I guess, for our company especially, the establishment of the Open DWG Alliance back in 1998 was critical, because that then gave us a much more cost-effective ability to effectively stop reverse engineering the DWG and DXF formats ourselves and, get those toolkits or SDKs, from a reliable development resource. And so next one I can really think of is 3D printing. And I guess the genesis of that really is just the expiration of patents, which made the manufacturing much more affordable, and for companies like 3D Systems to be able to, offer these 3D printers for, under $3,000 and under $2,000 and under $1,000. So that patent expiration enabled CAD companies like ourselves to, really refine our STL import and export formats, and then add different, water tightness checking tools to our applications. But it was really the patents expiration that was the catalyst to that.
If you consider, Bob, CAD's move from mainframe to personal computers as one of the milestones, would you also think about the recent CAD's movement from workstations to the cloud as similar moments? So, for example, things that companies like Onshape is doing right now.
I'd say it's a different sort of innovation. I think going from mainframes and workstations really made a technology available to much more engineers and design professionals at an affordable price. I think having things in the cloud doesn't necessarily expand the number of users. I think it makes collaboration an easier thing to do, or collaboration between the desktop and the cloud. I think it has its place, but I don't think it measures up in terms of its significance compared to when you went from these multi-$1,000s a seat to the prices that we see today. To me, that was more of a game changer.
What would you say is the industry's weakness?
Well, I think the problems are sort of a natural outcome of capitalism, if you will. In other words, we have so many different companies, both in the MCAD and AEC spaces, that in order for each of those companies to establish themselves and keep their business growing, they develop intellectual property. And intellectual property includes, file formats. So it's not hard to understand that why, there's not been an industry standard up to now, although it seems like with XML and X3D that we're migrating to that. I guess the cloud is helping drive that. But I don't see that as a weakness per se. I think that's just a natural outcome of, capitalistic competition. I think if there's any weakness, I think there's been a feeling amongst CAD developers, we have to have constant innovation. And yeah, you do have to have constant innovation, but to use a baseball analogy, I don't think you have to hit a home run every time you innovate. You can hit a lot of singles and still be really good. And I think if people do their market research before they do their software development in an effective way, they'll get a better understanding of what their users expect. And ultimately, that's the key. It's not what somebody at a C-level in a corporation needs. It's what their users want and demand that's going to help drive that innovation.
At some point in IMSI's history, it decided to go after the AutoCAD LT users with the offer of a free double CAD product.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty bold move. Could you tell me, could you trace your involvement in it and what happened to it, and if there is any kind of postmortems or reflections you can offer on that campaign?
It didn't really work for us because for two reasons. One, our drawing engine was not based on DWG. So we had to make concessions. The native file format was just basically our own TCW. And of course, we had really good import-export of DWG, but the fact is it wasn't the native file format. And I think anybody who's going to go after that market and has gone after that market has done that. So that was one shortcoming. The other shortcoming, I thought, was that we focused too much on the application instead of also programmability. Now, of course, AutoCAD LT didn't have the programmability extensions that AutoCAD proper has, but that was an opportunity for us, because if we could position ourselves against AutoCAD LT and say, if you want to develop third-party applications, support ARX and the different AutoCAD development platforms, including AutoList, then I think we would have also had a real winner. So I think it was this lack of two things, native DWG and programmability, that hurt us specifically. And then the other thing is, I think in retrospect, what I will call a freemium model doesn't work. That is, giving away something for free and then trying to upsell someone to a more feature-enhanced version. And you can cite what's happened with DraftSight, for example. It was originally released by SolidWorks under that model, and now they've migrated things to such that all the versions you have to pay for. And so I think that with respect to CAD, because you get so much functionality anyway, when you're using it, I think that's why we were never able to successfully convert enough free users into paid users, whether it was on either a permanent license or a subscription basis. And I think other companies, again, like SolidWorks, and I think when Corel came out with its initial version of this Corel CAD technology, they tried it as well, and it didn't work. So that's my sort of generic reflection on this.
Those are all very good observations, Bob. Now that you have a lot more free time, other than wrestling with R&D issues, how do you plan to spend your free time? Tell us a little bit more.
Oh, I'm an avid bike rider, both mountain and road, so I intend to spend more time doing that. And I also have a number of grandkids, so hopefully spend more time with them. And then, hoping that, given that COVID subsides a bit, I intend to do a little bit more traveling, and with that, scuba diving, which I really love to do.
Bob, that sounds wonderful retirement life. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you, Kenneth. Take care.
That's it for this episode. Until next time, I'm Kenneth Wong for DE 24/7. See you later.